Kia ora, I'm Liz and I'm here with Jan.
Hi.
And we've spoken in a previous video around the fight, flight, freeze response, and that conversation really focused around adults. And I asked Jan after we finished that video, about the response for kids, and I felt it really vital to share this. So Jan, yes, fight, flight, freeze, how is that different and how is that the same for young ones?
Okay, so I think children can also have any of those responses. I think for children, they're probably not as likely to have the fight response because as adults and parents, we're in high protective mode, so we're much more fight. However, children will have that, but it'll look quite a bit different.
Right.
So what's highly likely is if their response is the fight response, they're going to be acting out, they're going to be upset, they're going to be angry, they're going to be more difficult to manage, they might be arguing or questioning, and that is their fight response, which is a different version.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine that could happen at home, at school.
Yes, absolutely.
In different places in different ways.
So that's right. So it may be at home, they may be playing up at school, they may be challenging, sort of challenging all sorts of things. Just a different way of expressing a fight response than you might see in an adult. Yeah.
And what thoughts can you give to parents? Because I do know that people are experiencing this from the conversations I've been having.
Yes.
What could you give them?
Well, I guess again, it's for the parents to be understanding that there's a variety of responses for children also. So some of them might be acting out and challenging and angry and maybe even a bit aggressive, some things like that. Some of them may be afraid to go out. They may be terrified when they hear rain on the roof. And they may have become afraid that their parents, can't take proper care of them, or how will they be protected. Yeah. So it's probably much easier for parents to deal with the children that are doing the flight or freeze, because they're not causing so much trouble, if you know what I mean. Yeah. It's like they're going to elicit probably a kinder, more sympathetic response than the kid that's being challenging, acting out and pretty much being a pain. So I think it's important for parents to realise that can also be a very valid trauma response. And so what that kid needs is somebody to help them self-regulate, to help them to calm down in whatever way the parents know works for their child. Might be doing something distracting with them, might be watching a movie with them on the TV, or going to the park and letting them run it off. But also acknowledging, gosh, we've all been through such a hard time, and you've been through a hard time. I'm not surprised you're feeling so angry, because what's happened is just not fair. It's just not right. So I guess just communicating to the child that their response is a normal response to something that's happened, rather than the child then may start thinking themselves that they're just a naughty kid, and they should be doing better, and so they need that acknowledgement and kindness as much as the child who's become afraid to go out. Or
absolutely. And so from the examples that you were giving, it's not necessarily about getting them to talk.
No.
Sometimes it's just coming alongside, doing things together, releasing some of that energy and pain and things that needs to be out there that would be released if an adult was in that.
That's right. And
place.
Acknowledging their feelings, basically. Actually just saying, gosh, this has been really hard, and you're feeling really frustrated or angry or whatever it might be. So when we can acknowledge an emotion in a valid way in somebody else, it actually just serves to calm the emotion down a little bit, because the person feels like they've been understood, they've been seen, and that has a calming effect.
Absolutely. And what about parents that have got so much on their plate right now, whether it's insurance or whether it's homes or school holidays, or everything that, and the grief, everything that people are carrying right now. What if their tanks are so low? I'm hearing people that are just really struggling with parenting at the moment.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable as well. And so again, it's about those parents being able to recognise that and acknowledge in themselves that they're finding it a real struggle at the moment because their tanks are empty. And of course we know that when parents are have been under so much stress and from so many different things, it's pretty hard to be empathic when your child's playing up. So I guess the best they can do again is acknowledge to themselves how they're feeling, and to the extent they can, like in a age appropriate way, be able to have a conversation with their child or children and say, gosh, you're feeling really upset or angry, and I'm not doing so good either. We've all been through something really hard, and so I'm really sorry if I've been impatient, or it seems like I haven't had enough time. So we're we're in this together. We're both going through something, and let's try and be kind to each other. I think that's, again, it's like that communication and acknowledgement that I think is quite important. And it's okay for parents to say, I'm struggling, and to say I'm sorry if they lost it. To go back and say, gosh, I yelled at you, I was really mean, I'm really sorry. That mum or dad's been going through this and it's been really tough. You didn't deserve for me to yell at you like that.
And I think, again, from what I hear around parents feeling they have to be the strong ones, they have to be be the protectors. But the power in communicating with a child what's going on for them as well.
Absolutely. So I think one of the most powerful things we can do for our children in any situation is allow them to know that we also have times when we're vulnerable, we're sad, we're angry, we're upset, we're overwhelmed. We feel like we're not coping, but we can acknowledge that, and so that means it's okay for parents to have a cry in front of their children too, and say, this has just been so sad, and it's okay to feel like this.
And so to normalise the emotions and the feelings.
Exactly. Because that's the truth. So, if parents are doing too much of trying to be the strong ones, they're not actually helping their child to learn that you can be vulnerable, upset and feel overwhelmed, and you can get through it, and you can be strong. And it is a strength to be able to know when you're feeling some big emotions, and it's okay to talk about them, and to know you'll get through.
And so then with the kids, lastly, around that are in that freeze and flight place, is it simply around uffying and some of those similar activities? How would you suggest?
So I think yes, absolutely. So again, it's acknowledging for the child and the uffy around how they're feeling, and that's normal, that's okay. You completely understand. I felt like that too. And giving them space, so in the first aftermath, just letting that be, I would say. But then after a time, gently encouraging the child to step outside of their comfort zone a little bit, but make that like one step at a time. So we don't need to go into town the first time. We might go for a walk around the block. We might make a little picnic and go not too far away, maybe to a park that they're really familiar with. So, and making sure that they feel like they've got that protection around them, and that it's okay to be away from home or do something different.
Awesome. There's an technique that popped into my head around feel, felt, found. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. What I found that was helpful was so a way of coming alongside and supporting that young one, and that sometimes we can feel a relief when someone goes, I've been feeling the same way. So it is normal, and it's not just me. And then, what I found was helpful, because then if we've got that alongsideness, then sometimes people can be more open to what might help.
That's right, because what we're saying is we're all on the same continuum. We're all on it somewhere.
100%.
You know, and we move up and down.
Up and down.
But none of us are outside of that box.
Yeah.
We're all there somewhere. So
Yeah.
we always have shared experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and saying what's helpful is a really useful thing, but also being open at the same time that somebody might say, well, that doesn't help me, and say, oh, well, it won't help everybody, but you know, what do you think might be helpful for you? What would your version be? That might help someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so the one thing from this video that you would love everyone to take away?
That the children have been through a huge thing as well. And that's even more complicated by the fact that they have been through it and their parents have been through it. So we have children with trauma responses and parents with trauma responses and a variety of different responses. And so knowing that all the feelings and reactions are normal and to be expected, and kindness and acceptance and communication and working together, and allowing time, knowing it just takes a bit of time.
Awesome. Thanks, Jan.